Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at quicksort, and as the name implies, it's a little bit quicker than the bubble sort we just did on the last video. It's an easy algorithm as well. Once you get the hang of it, it's no problem. So let's start straight into it. So how would you carry out a quicksort? So for a quicksort, you'd select a pivot at the midpoint of your list, and then depending on whether your list is increasing or decreasing, this list here, this method is for an ascending list. So you'd write all the items that are less than the pivot on the left hand side of the pivot, and then the ones that are more on the right hand side. And I think the quicksort algorithm, looking at an example, is probably the best way to figure out how to do it and to get comfortable with it. So then you pick a pivot, you put the ones that are less on the left hand side and the ones that are more for the right hand side. This is if it's an ascending list. And then you write down another pivot at the midpoint of the two sub lists that are formed. And that may not make much sense, but when you see it, it'll be all right. And then you do the same thing for those sub lists, and you keep going until all the items have been chosen as pivots. And that's essential. Even if your order has been listed, you need to make sure you choose every single one as a pivot, and that's when it's complete. So let's look at this one. Sort into an ascending order. We have these numbers here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So we pick the pivot, and our pivot here is going to be number 23. This is down the middle. And you can figure out the pivot by using n plus 1 over 2, which is the midpoint, but you don't really need to. There we go. So we choose 23. We sort every single number that is less than 23 onto this side here. So as you can see here, on this first line, I've chosen 23 as the pivot. And on this second line, I've written all the numbers less than 23 on the left-hand side and all the numbers more on the right-hand side. And then on this second row, I have chosen from my 23, now there's two lists on either side. There's this list here that goes from 24 to 38, and there's this here that goes 21 to 8. Then I choose pivots from the midpoints of those lists, right? I make sure I box out my pivot, my previous pivot. Make sure you box it out so you know you've already chosen it as a pivot. So then I go on these sublists and I sort it out again. So I go 21, 13, 8, 8. So on this third row now, I do the same thing with my new pivots. So the 8 goes before the 13, 21 goes after the 13. And for this list here on the right hand side, 24 goes before 29, and then all the numbers go there. And now let's keep going until we solve it. So 8, 13, and 21. Right, now, even though they're just one number, it's still technically a list. So I'll box it off as pivots. But they're already in order, 8, 13, 21. So I don't need to do any swapping or anything. So now our 29 is already a pivot, so we'll box it off there. Our 24 pivot already. And now we are going to box off the 39. And we are going to swap those numbers there. 38 and 42. So now we're left with that. And that is 8, 13, 21, 24, 29. That is our list in order now. But for the final thing we need to do, we need to write this down as all of them being pivoted. That's the right word. All of them have been chosen as pivots. So we are now complete. And now we have our list in ascending order. And as the name implies, it is much faster than bubble sort.